Hey everyone, this is Ryan B with Practical Forex Trading. This is your weekly analysis for the Euro USD. So the European Euro versus the US dollar. The date is July 12th, 9:23 a.m. Oh, sorry, July 12th, 2020, 9:23 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This is a 4-hour chart for the Euro dollar. Sorry it's so messy. I usually like to keep my charts a lot cleaner, but I went ahead and pre-mapped out all the support and resistance so I didn't have to do it live. And let's go ahead and talk about the story this tells. So really, right now, my sentiment is mixed because we're range trading between $1.12 and $113.50. So if I were to represent that, let's go ahead and make this a bit more visual. It's this entire rectangle of price action. As you can see, with the exception of a couple peaks above, really 113's held, but it's been a really rough ride, right? This is roller coaster city up here. And essentially, unless you've been selling at the top near R2, if you've been selling at R1, there's a chance the price is poked up and burned you. So, but really this is what's happening, right? Price keeps resorting back to this channel. So with this week's pivot points, let's see what the actual pivot is. 1246. So the median pivot, we'll call it the median line, is down here. We'll call that like kind of like short. That's really short term. So prices as a pivot point, price could just boom bounce up and down this range all week long. It's interesting though that price has stalled so long. Usually we'll see these big sell-offs occur with these kind of like steep peaks. Now we're getting a bit more of a broad face. However, it's still not in a bullish formation, right? It was a bit of a flag pennant there for a bit, but it really hasn't proven much. So we're mixed. Price really needs to break out. If price breaks above R1, 1307, then we got bull. Otherwise, if we just go back down to S1, the bearish scenario is still in play. So let's go ahead. So ignoring all this big cluster of color at the bottom, we can see this is the ultimate trend, right? Multi-year downtrend. But at the same time, if we zoom in, we can see our candles are looking very bullish, right? So it's bullish, but it has to prove itself. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles in a row, 6 weeks, where prices failed to puncture 1307. So that just puts a lot of uncertainty into the market, and kind of like, well, I don't want to lose any pips. So that's one thing I try to do after years of doing this is lose pips. Now everyone loses once in a while, but I try to do it as least as possible, and then I keep my losses short. So here now at this point, maybe I'm selling and putting my stops behind R1, but really I prefer the strategy where price pushes into the resistance zone, then I sell. If we can see here, if I would have used 113 as my barometer to sell, right, I would have been burned because my price pushed 60 pips into my range before being rejected. So really think about price pushing into the support resistance zone, then selling that to make the most amount of pips. Now, if we look at things from a potentially bullish scenario, our short-term trend, right? This has been going on since early 2020. And you could say, well, price is moving on this trend. And because price hasn't fallen below 111.80 area, it's still potential, right? So it'll be really interesting to see if our pivot this week holds and we see buying at the pivot, then there's a broader chance for a bullish scenario, turning this into an ascending bullish wedge. So once again, you can use geometric shapes to help you identify patterns. And we say, well, it looks like price is forming this ascending bullish wedge. What does that mean? Price keeps tempting to push through the ground, okay? Imagine this being below the ground. It keeps attempting to push through. And every time it goes back down, the low gets a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. Eventually, this is going to crack and price will shoot up. So this week, look to see what happens at 113. This could go all the way into August before we see a pop through. But we know for sure if our next low stops at around this pivot point and we see some good buying here, then the bulls are on. All right, everyone. Have a great week trading. Hope you make lots of pips. Talk soon.